will be allowed in the parliament premises, to which non-stop reaction from the opposition have been coming in. Let's quickly take you through some of the Congress reactions on this latest word coming in from the parliament. You have Jairam Ramesh, who has shared the latest order by the Secretary General of Rajya Sabha on Twitter, and he's captioned the image as Vish Guru's latest salvo, Dharna Mana Hai, he says. Now remember, according to this, members of parliament cannot use its presence for any dharna or strike, and yesterday all through the day we were putting out non-stop reactions from the Congress, from several in the opposition, members of parliament who've been criticizing the report of the Lok Sabha Secretariat, which had released a list of words that have been designated as unparliamentary. Non-stop Congress reactions coming in.
That's right. The order by PC Modi now also reads that members cannot use the precedence of the Parliament House for any demonstration, dharna, strike, fast, or for the purpose of performing any other religious ceremony as well. And Samya now joins us live on this broadcast. So Samya, strong reactions coming in, specifically talking about the Congress leaders, be it Manish Tiwari or Jairam Ramesh as well, who have now stated that this is unconstitutional. It is unfortunate, they say.
Well, absolutely. We can see how the opposition MPs are visibly upset with these new rules that the House, the Speaker of the House and the Chairman are coming up with. They are definitely very upset with the manner in which they came up with a list of unparliamentary words where opposition leaders were not taken on board. The standing way of going forward with it is that it's taken into a rules committee where the opposition leaders and all party members, for that matter, are deciding what are the words that are going to be unparliamentary. Now, today there is a new rule that has been stated that no precinct of the House can be used for fast or dharna or strike or even performing any religious ceremonies. To this, definitely, Jairam Ramesh, Manish Tiwari and many other leaders like Derek O'Brien have once again taken offense, saying that what are these rules that the Speaker of the House are trying to come up with? Are they trying to muzzle the voice of the opposition? This is primarily the way in which the opposition leaders have often staged their grievances, their protests against the government on several issues and several other matters, and to take that away from the opposition is to try and handicap them. And is that really the intention of the government? And this entire matter needs to be looked into. So, of course, the opposition leaders will be holding a strategy meeting on 17th before the monsoon session commences, and they are definitely going to make a formal appeal before both the Speaker of the Lok Sabha and the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, urging upon them that they may revisit these rules, because otherwise there is no way in which the opposition should be allowed to hold protests. We have often seen how the opposition leaders would assemble at the Gandhi statue and hold protests against several issues that take place within the House, against the policies of the government.
But highlighted by Derek O'Brien as well. He too has put out a tweet and he says demonstrations, dharnas, strikes, fasts are a part of legitimate parliamentary tactics to register protests, and how is it that they can be stopped from doing so? Let me quickly introduce Pratibha and bring her into the conversation as she's going to be taking us through some of those tweets. Pratibha, non-stop reactions coming in from the opposition at the moment.
Absolutely. The stage is set for a very, very stormy monsoon session as it begins on July 18th. And of course, this time around, the opposition has a lot more ammunition as well. Yesterday, if it was about the words, now with the dharna rule coming in, a lot of reactions coming in. Let me take you through that. Jairam Ramesh first. He's saying Vishwa Guru's latest salvo, dharna mana hai, a bit of a wordplay there as well, as he says dharna mana hai, which is why dharnas have been banned, so dharna mana hai. This is after the parliamentary bulletin said that the members cannot use the precincts of the parliamentary house for any demonstration, dharna, strike, fast, or for the purpose of performing any religious ceremony. So religious ceremony has also been mentioned here, which is why a reaction coming in from Derek O'Brien. Remember, he's talking about the recent puja that Prime Minister Modi had held, saying every year they issue these notices in Parliament bulletins, demonstrations, dharna, strikes.
I'll come back to you with those tweets. But Tom Varakan of the BJP also joins us on this broadcast. Mr. Varakan, how would you respond to these allegations coming in from the Congress MPs who are now calling this unconstitutional and unfortunate that dharnas and demonstrations will not be allowed inside the Parliament premises?
Have the Congress MPs lost issues? Are there no issues that they need to discuss in Parliament? Issues like, I think the Speaker of the House has very clearly clarified as to the independence of speech, that if there is any objection, somebody can object and the matter will be expunged. Now that rests that matter. Now the second issue with Jairam Ramesh. Jairam is well known to be the guru of Rahul Gandhi. I mean, he was the first guru, then I think Digvijay came in, now I think it's again Jairam Ramesh. So all this mischievous, issues that he raised have nothing to do with the common man. I mean, people are asking questions. You as an opposition party raise issues which are important.
So let's ask the Congress. We have Mr. Rashid Alvi also joining us on the phone line. Mr. Alvi, we are seeing non-stop reactions being put out by several Congress leaders on Twitter as far as this latest order by the Secretary General of Rajya Sabha is concerned, essentially indicating that no dharnas or protests must be allowed in the Parliament premises. What is it that the Congress is objecting to here?
Actually, it is very unfortunate. Members of Parliament are more important, or Secretary General of Rajya Sabha is more important. And this Tanashahi Hukum, which has been given by the Parliament, there is one rules committee in the Parliament in Lok Sabha. I have been member of Parliament for 15 years, even Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha both. And there is another committee, General Purpose Committee. Whether you have discussed in those committees, all of a sudden you will decide whatever you want to decide. You can't say Ankar, you can't say Tanashahi, you can't say Ghariyali Ansu. What is this? This is absolutely Tanashahi. You can't say sexual harassment. Whether you agree, all the women, they should come out against it. It is very unfortunate. I do not know.
Mr. Varakan, would you respond to what Mr. Alvi is saying? He's saying that this is unconstitutional and against the ethos of our constitution and our parliamentary, in fact, working as well. How would you respond to Mr. Alvi's reaction?
No, actually,
Mr. Rashid Alvi has claimed he's been 15 years in the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, but I want his attention that the Speaker has clarified you use whatever words you want, but the only thing is if they are objected to, they will get expunged if it is on the issue of words that I use. But nobody is stopping anybody from speaking anything. So the issue is well rested, and it is not something that has happened yesterday. These are words that have been expunged earlier too, and this is the due process that is being followed. Now, as to the question of, I want to ask Mr. Rashid Alvi, was he dropped as a spokesman when he spoke about Yamaha riding a buffalo? Point here is, look, Congress has an old issue. They have this whole business of non-issues being created. Mr. Alvi has been a victim of that. Pray, Mr. Alvi, have a second thought about all this. This is a due process being followed. And if you have no issues at all, then come and support the government. Instead of creating, well, this who's more powerful, the Secretary General is more powerful, a Member of Parliament. These are issues that are well settled in the rule books of Parliament. So I don't think you need to raise issues like that. You have been an honourable Member of Parliament, and I believe that you have done your role. But there are times when the Congress has non-issues and people like you are used for speaking out whatever they think is appropriate. You're a person of sensibility and deep knowledge.
All right.
You should speak what you think is right.
So Mr. Alvi can respond to that, Mr. Varakan, but a quick question. I'm going to add to what you just said and ask Mr. Alvi. Mr. Alvi, you had mentioned, all right, we've lost that line. Mr. Varakan, if I could bring you back into the conversation, and that was in fact for Mr. Alvi, but yesterday it was clarified and in as many words that it is all about the context. So it is the context that decides what is unparliamentary and what is parliamentary. He had given the example of sexual harassment. All of those doubts have been put to rest yesterday.
I think the matter is dusted and over. And now I think, this is basically those who haven't heard this speaker should ask the archives or the departments concerned to show them the visuals of what the speaker said. If the matter was settled, context of what the context is, then it is only objectionable when somebody raises issue. It's like cricket. If you don't appeal the cricket, the umpire need not take cognizance. I mean, these are certain set rules. If it is to be expunged, it has to be objected to. And if it's objected, the context is looked at. And these are issues which are well settled. There's nothing new. And why is the Congress party acting hypersensitive under new avatar of Jairam Ramesh, the Guru?
And Mr. Mr. Varakan, as you pointed out, that can this also be seen as a deterrent from the opposition parties who have been constantly, we have seen in the past parliamentary sessions as well, protested and even in a way created hurdles for the smooth functioning of the parliament? Is this another tactic, do you believe, by the opposition leaders?
Well, this is evident enough. This has been happening in different houses. We have seen that. I mean, the reflection on democracy becomes sad. When the whole world is watching us, we call ourselves a mother of democracy. And look at it. Our parliamentarians do not have that, the kind of discipline that is required. You take up issues, demonstrate, tear documents in the House, tear papers in the House. This is not democracy. You have an objection, raise it. You have to speak in the House, raise objections, debate in the House. This is the temple of democracy. This is not an house or the street where you can demonstrate, shout, yell, and scream. You can't throw the chairs and the kind of disorder that we've seen in many houses across India. This, I think, must stop. And this new India is about younger generation who are asking questions. What are you delivering after the mandate given to you? If you do not deliver, you have no place to be in Parliament. You need to deliver, you need to be seen, you need to ask questions. You are supposed to be, if you are supposed to be the opposition, play your role as an opposition. A constructive opposition is what is required for the country.
A constructive opposition that must, in fact, ensure a constructive debate on the floor of the House. Mr. Varakan, appreciate you speaking to us this morning and getting us that perspective. Let me quickly go across to Samya once again. Samya, on many occasions during, the Parliament session, we've seen how several sessions stand adjourned. There are important debates, important bills that need to be discussed, but none of that happens mostly because of dharnas and protests that are staged repeatedly. How is it that the Congress is justifying that while it says that, dharnas cannot be stopped or protests cannot be stopped for that matter? It's the right of every parliamentarian.
Well, a few things over here. Firstly, the opposition always maintains that there are many occasions where the government ends up bringing bills at the last moment and the opposition leaders are not kept on board about it. And it's the responsibility of the government to ensure, and the responsibility of the chair and the speaker to ensure that the House runs smoothly. If there should be given a chance to protest, the decorum within the House is one thing, but to say that the opposition leaders are not allowed to hold protests and dharnas outside.
Sorry to interrupt you there. We also are joined by Majid Memon of the NCP on the phone. And Mr. Memon, how would you respond to this latest diktat coming in from the Parliament, where now dharnas and demonstrations will not be allowed in any form as far as the Parliament premises are concerned?
See, any action proposed by the Government of India or by the Speaker, the Chairman of the House or the Speaker, to regulate the conduct of members of Parliament within the House. You see, orderly behavior and decent behavior in the Parliament is the need of the hour. Our leader Sharad Pawar ji has always been saying that he is asking all his MPs never to misbehave in the House and be always, respect the dignity of the House. But you see, for regulating the conduct that the members must not go into well, the members must not try to throw objects, etc., at each other or at the chair, is understandable. But if the government is imposing total ban on protest, you see, a protest with dignity by raising slogans in the House, such occasions come in a democracy too often. You see, if you take away from the opposition or from the common people who are not a party of in the government, to find fault with the government's wrong policies, criticize them by way of decent protest, then you are throttling the very spirit of democracy. You see, there will be no democracy.
All right. So you're of the opinion, sir, that aggressive protests must certainly be banned, but any sort of peaceful demonstrations are a right of every parliamentarian who's attending the session, and so it must be allowed no matter what. Thank you for joining us on Times Now this morning. Viewers, it's time for us to head into a very short break here. Be back in just 2 minutes with more details we're tracking on other top stories.